Hi everybody, welcome once again to a Fraser Public Library activity tutorial. So today we're going to be making Goldilocks oatmeal cookies. So that's why the setup's a little bit different today. So I had to unfortunately put my camera so that you could see what I was doing and less so that you could see my actual face. So sorry about that everyone, you're going to have to just look at my hands today. Anyway. So this is the oatmeal cookie recipe that I really love. So I'm going to go over ingredients first, and then we'll talk about the steps for the recipe. All right, and there are a few, so just pay attention. So ingredients for our oatmeal cookies today are going to be 1/2 cup of butter, and this has actually been softening for most of today, so you're going to need 1/2 cup of softened butter. You're going to need oats, otherwise they're not oatmeal cookies, cinnamon, white plain sugar, brown sugar, flour, salt, baking soda, that's important, vanilla extract, and an egg. All right, now some of this other stuff I have on hand so that I can measure, etc. So you're going to need some measuring cups, you're going to need some measuring spoons, and important, you're going to need at least 2 bowls, okay? I also have a electric mixer on hand so that I can do stuff with that too. Now I'm going to have to spread out a little bit because it's a little cramped right in this corner, but it was the best way I could get everything set up so you could see what I'm doing. Anyway, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your softened butter into a bowl, and into that you're going to add a 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar and a 1/2 cup of loose white sugar. Okay, so we're going to start with the packed brown sugar. The brand new brown sugar package, folks. So guess what? You get the brand new package. So we want a 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. Now packed because brown sugar is actually got a little bit of molasses in it. I know, weird, huh? And that means that it can get packed down into the 1/2 cup. Here, let me move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. All right. So pack that down. Luckily, these cookies are just for me and my sister. No one else is going to get them. Otherwise, I would be wearing gloves while I was doing this. All right, so we want to pack that down. You're going to get messy, just so you're aware. And anytime I bake something, I always get really messy. I don't know why. It's usually when I do the flour. So everybody watch. When I do the flour, it's going to get everywhere, especially on me. All right, so I like to do packed brown sugar up to the very tip top of my 1/2 cup. All right, get some of that off. So brown sugar packed in really nice, and that goes into, look at that, into my butter. And of course I got brown sugar on my counter. Hold on a second while I clean that off. All right, then we're gonna do a 1/2 cup of white sugar, okay? So take your 1/2 cup again and just measure out you're gonna have to shaky to get it level, 1/2 cup of the white sugar. Now we're gonna cream this all together. What that means is we're going to use either our hands or an electric mixer. I'm gonna set the sugar out of the way. And we're gonna get everything to a nice creamy consistency for my ingredients, okay? So grab my electric mixer. This is going to make some noise, so I apologize in advance. Now into this, we're actually going to add 1 egg, okay? So here's my little egg. I'm going to crack him right into my bowl. I always crack them on the counter first, though. I know. I don't crack on the side of the bowl because, to me, it makes too many tiny pieces, and I don't want tiny pieces. I will throw that away in a little bit but I need to get the egg incorporated. Alrighty. Kind of leave that sitting there. There's a whole bunch of butter on there. That's okay. See how it's a nice creamy consistency? All right, so the next thing that we're gonna add is actually our vanilla extract. We're gonna need a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I've got my vanilla extract. I'm gonna grab one of my half teaspoons, and that's gonna go in here. And then we're gonna set this aside. Oh, brand new vanilla, sorry. Gotta take the little thingy off. There we go. All right, so half a teaspoon of vanilla. Just dribble that right in there. I know it's not very much, but you don't need a lot to make it taste vanilla-y. Plus, this is gonna have some cinnamon in it, and the vanilla really likes to offset the cinnamon. All right, so then I'm gonna incorporate this, mix this together. All right, and as I said, I'm gonna set this to the side because now I'm gonna measure out my dry ingredients and I'm gonna put them into a separate bowl. So I'm gonna set this, actually we're gonna go over here because I'm gonna try and make it so you guys can see what I'm doing. Grab all of my measuring spoons and stuff. I don't have a ton of space on this side of the kitchen, but I wanted you to be able to see everything. All right, so into a separate bowl, we're gonna add dry ingredients. So this is like our baking soda, flour, salt, cinnamon, but not our oats. Oats are gonna get mixed in last, okay? So we're gonna need a cup of flour. We need half a teaspoon of the baking soda and half a teaspoon of salt. And that's why I actually got out 2 sets of spoons because I needed one that'll be wet and one that'll be dry. So let's do our salt. Half a teaspoon of salt. Oops, that's half a tablespoon. I thought that looked too big. Oh, and I got a little extra in there, but that's okay. Just a tiny bit. Half a teaspoon of the baking soda. Important, this is baking soda, not powder. I know it's in what usually has powder in it, but it's soda. Okay, now you want that a nice flat measurement. See that? Put that in. And then we're gonna need a cup of flour. Move that out of the way. And this is my cup measurement. It has a little bit of sugar in there from when I was doing my sugar. But we're gonna need a cup of flour. Now, usually I sift my flour. That means that I make it all nice and light and put it into the cup measurement. But today I don't have time to do that. Instead, we're just gonna eyeball it. That's okay. You don't have to be as exact in baking sometimes. You want a nice flat level for your flour and put that in there. I told you guys, I get flour everywhere. It happens every single time. Just wait, you're gonna see me drenched in flour at some point in time. All right, and those are our dry ingredients. Now we wanna mix these together a little bit because otherwise they're just gonna kind of sit. So let me grab a spoon. And I'm just gonna mix this together a little bit, just a tiny bit. We don't want that baking soda and the salt to sit on the bottom because we want that to get incorporated all nice. All right. And then on top of this, we need 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. So that's a half and a quarter. All right, so I've got my half teaspoon. I'm gonna have to open this guy up. So 1/2. Make sure you tap all of the excess off. 1/2. I gotta go to my other set of measuring spoons to get my quarter. So my quarter is on this one. And 1/4. If you don't have a quarter, you can feel free. Bless me. Whew, I'm sorry. Cinnamon must have gotten up my nose. Whew. Woo, that was fun. You can always use just 1 full teaspoon. Mix that all in. Mixy, 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 mixy. You don't want any bits of cinnamon in big clumps. Okay, so that's all nice and mixed together. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to incorporate our dry ingredients into our wet ingredients. So that would be all of this stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to pull everything back so that it's back towards the middle so I can do this next part. All right, so to do that, what we're going to do is we're actually going to put this on low. So I'm going to put it on 1, and then I'm going to slowly pour in little bits of the flour mixture together. All right, so that's a little bit of it. Now I'm going to shake some more in. So you just want to do a little bit at a time and get it all mixed in. That's why I put it in a separate bowl. It makes it easier to do this part. All right, do it again. This way you don't have a whole bunch of flour just come flying up at your face. Not that I've done that before or anything. It actually happens quite a bit. There we go. We're getting some nice clumpy dough. Get the last little bit of the flour in here. And then I'll show you what we need to do next. All right. So I've got everything mixed in except for the oats. And that's fine because we're going to do that by hand because otherwise it gets a bit much for my little beater. All right. So I'm going to just use the spoon that I was using to mix the dry ingredients to get all of the extra dough out of the beaters here. Nice sticky dough. All right, 1 done. Get the second dude. Almost got that guy cleaned off. And then we're going to mix in some oats. Oh my goodness, nice sticky. This is good because this is what we want. We want a nice sticky consistency for the next step. All right. There's my beaters cleaned off, and then here is my nice sticky dough. All righty. This is enough for 12 cookies once I add my oats. All righty. So we're going to need 1.5 cups oats to go into this mix, and that's why I do this part by hand because otherwise it gets a bit difficult. So I've got my 1 cup. We may need to experiment with oat distribution here because sometimes they don't like to go into the cup. They like to go straight into the, the bowl. All right, 1 cup of oats, and then my 1/2 cup, and then a 1/2 cup of oats. There we go. Just have a tiny bit left that I'll probably use for breakfast tomorrow. Yes, I'm a crazy person and I like oatmeal for breakfast. Alrighty, so now we're going to mix this in by hand. We want these to be nice and incorporated so that when we cook them, the oats will get nice and moist and nice and soft. Alrighty. Now, once I'm done incorporating my oats, I'm actually going to put this in the fridge. And the reason I'm going to put this in the fridge is because when we put this in the oven, we don't want them to spread out right away. We kind of want them to have to wait a little bit to start spreading because otherwise you're going to get really flat cookies, and we don't want flat cookies. So we're going to need to get them nice and cold because we're going to roll them into balls, and then we'll put them on our sheet. Alrighty. Now that this is nice and incorporated, oops, got a little bit still on the bottom. Nice and incorporated. Just get the extra dough off of here. What we're going to do is I'm going to cover this with my aluminum foil. I'm going to put it in the fridge for about an hour. So I'm gonna have to pause the video and we're gonna have to come back to this in an hour. Okay, so pause and come back in about an hour. Alrighty, let me cover this with aluminum foil. Always makes such a funny noise. Cover this. I'm gonna stick it in my fridge for about an hour and then I will come back and we will do the next part, which is baking our cookies. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Hi again, everybody. So my cookie dough has been chilling for an hour in the fridge, and I'm going to show you how to do the next part. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to roll them into balls about the shape of a walnut, and then you're going to put them on a lined cookie tray. I usually do mine with aluminum foil. You could do parchment paper as well. Also, don't forget to preheat your oven to 375. Very important. All right, so I already did some, as you can tell, they're cooling on my counter. Here's the rest of the cookie dough. I usually only do about 6 per sheet because otherwise it takes up way too much space. So roll it into a ball, about the size of a walnut, yay big. Put him down. Grab another chunk. Two. Three. And 4. I already did some of them earlier, so this is just the remaining bit. Otherwise, I would normally put 6 on here. All right, so that is 4. Now what you're gonna do is you're actually gonna take a large fork and you're gonna take your white sugar and you're gonna dip the fork in the sugar and use it to push down and flatten your cookies a little bit. Just a little bit. This just makes it easier so that when you're cooking, they flatten a little at the beginning part. All right, put that away. And then you're gonna stick this in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes or until the bottoms are kind of crispy brown. All right, so I'm gonna set the timer for 10 minutes and I will see you again in 10 minutes. Welcome back again. So I'm going to pull my cookies out of the oven. This is, the alarm already went off and oh, look at that. They're nice and gorgeous. Now what you want to do is you want them to cool down for about 5 minutes before you transfer them to a cooling rack. That gives them time to kind of settle a little bit. All right. And that is how you make Goldilocks oatmeal cookies. I will see you guys later. Bye.